Something is happening out there. There is a rejection of the political class going on in this country in a way that has not been seen in modern times. I can't let down those millions of people. So I am going to stand in this election. I'll be launching my candidacy at midday tomorrow in the Essex seaside town of Clacton.
Within 18 hours, Nigel Farage had drawn a sizable crowd in Clacton. People had driven from Maidstone, from Plymouth, even from Sheffield to see the new Reform Party leader in the Essex seaside town.
You can't get anywhere near him. This is like Jeremy Corbyn in 2019. This is absolutely rammed.
Having fallen out with the Conservatives during the 2019 election, the news might be viewed as a violent affront to any voting power Rishi Sunak had left. One thing's for certain, the sense of circus and spectacle was palpable. When Nigel Farage says jump, the media says how high.
We're here in Clacton, where Nigel Farage has announced he will run as a candidate in the general election. It might be easy to make a joke that Nigel Farage has lost many elections over his time, but now it feels different.
Giles Watling, who was the local MP, amazing fella, but Nigel will get things done because of who he is. And then with the fella stepping down and all the knowledge he had to pass it over to Nigel, I just think Clacton will be great again.
Do you think then... So that's really interesting. Your argument is about the economy. It's about dilapidation around the local area. So you think that Nigel's offering something that the Conservatives can't offer?
Yeah, I do. I think that Nigel will help people. Like I was reading these policies, like with the boost the wages, it will help. He's on about health costs too and stuff like that. Like I haven't seen a dentist for 5 or 6 years because there's no dentist around here and stuff. And I think he will help. He would help it out, and I think if you don't vote for him, I seriously think if you don't vote for him to be Clacton, I think it's only between him and Giles Watling because they're the best two candidates. Not being rude, all the others are rubbish, and I would sway into Giles because he has helped us. But I think all the housing, I think everything else in our area, I think he will help. I think he will help it and he will make it better. And Nigel's not just here he's got all the older voters, not being rude, but he'll have the younger ones.
I think young people are facing the worst prospects any generation has, probably for 80 years. Their chance of setting up their own business is mired in bureaucratic rules and difficulties, the IR35 rules for the self-employed, things like that. Their chance of having a house are much worse than their parents and grandparents, and indeed great-grandparents as well. If they're renting, rents are up 30% since 2021. It's tough for young people, very tough for young people.
The post office scandal and the blood scandal, it just proves that all the governments that have been in for the last 20 odd years have been corrupt. They've turned a blind eye to things that should have been sorted out. And he says, hopefully, him and Richard Tasos have said, they're going to sort things out. It's not going to be immediate. We're not stupid. It's not going to turn overnight, but at least it'd be some sort of, start to changing our country, Do
you think it's because he works as a disruptor? Do you think that's why he's so important? Because he disrupts the natural course of politics?
I think he's gone down that road because of things that have happened. He's not a sort of person, in my eyes, I don't know him personally. I was speaking to a lady just now that was actually a friend of the family, so I learned a little bit more about him himself. But from what I've seen about him, he hasn't changed in all of those years. He said the same things and believes in the same things. And yes, he goes into the pub and smokes and things. He's a normal, ordinary person. He's not pretending to be anything other than what he is, And I like someone for that. They're honest. And hopefully he'll be able to make a difference. I don't know.
Unless the Conservative Party splits down the middle and becomes two parties, they can split the funds half and half if they like, and I'll go with Mark Francois and Bill Cash and the likes, and maybe there'll be a Conservative Party worth resurrecting. But the party as it stands at the moment isn't worth having. not least the constituency parties have been completely removed from the political system. They're having central office vetted candidates parachuted in on them. Why would anybody in a local constituency party want to go out canvassing on behalf of a candidate that they've never met before in their life, they didn't ask for, they didn't want, the local candidate is being told, no, you're one of the swivel-eyed loons, you know, that voted for Brexit.
With Nigel, going back to I'm Slippery, Get Me Out of Here, he become friends with Sam, didn't he? Sam had ADHD and I've got ADHD. So I'm going through my diagnosis, and I think he understands disabilities, Nigel, and he's big for that because you see him. And I think what Nigel can offer for the younger people is that if you support him, he will make Clacton great.
There are 3 offers here on the side of the bus: slash immigration, slash the cost of living crisis, and boost wages. They're eerily similar policies to what Rishi Sunak is offering. So why is it that Nigel Farage seems to be more popular?
They're the only party that are talking any kind of sense at the moment. I've always been a Conservative, but the Conservative Party as it is now is Conservative in name only. Central office, after Cameron invented the One Nation Tory mob, have dragged the party to the left, thinking that's where they need to be to get elected. Well, if that's where they need to be to get elected, then there's no point in them being elected.
Have you heard any of their call-outs to voters like you, so previous Conservative voters who've turned to Reform? Do you know they had an immigration announcement yesterday, they had their national service announcement last week? Did any of that tempt you?
No. I mean, the national service is just nonsense. It's an option. You can either do that or you can do community service, so you can go and pick up a bit of litter or whatever. Quite honestly, in the short term, it's the last thing the forces need. When there was the original national service, it was a liability for the army. They were just babysitting delinquents, to be quite honest.
Can I ask you, you talked about disability there and you said that Nigel gets it. Did you hear what the Conservatives had to say about disability recently and about how they wanted to get people off of PIP payments? I mean, how did that make you feel?
It really frustrated me because I've got to have a job interview tomorrow for me to go back to work. I'm in the electric wheelchair, I got a diagnosis of myopathy, I had strangulation of the spinal cords, and I think it's ridiculous. I think that I can't work. Well, I'd love to go back to work, and if I cut these payments, so what am I going to have to my income? What am I going to live on? What am I going to have? I'm going to have no money. I struggle every month anyway to pay my bills with the money we get on the PIP. I get PIP and a little bit of money from Universal Credit, but he wants me to go back to work. So if you can find me a job, what I can do in there full time and money, I'm there. But I think it's ridiculous because I've got to have a review tomorrow about going back to work. Personally, you see me in a wheelchair. I can't walk without a walking frame. I have a stick I struggle with. I can't go back to work. I think Conservatives are ridiculous. I think Richie should walk before, shouldn't even stand, and let Nigel come in and let Nigel stand for Prime Minister.
Sunak, I don't dislike him, but he hasn't got control over his party. He's lost control, unfortunately, and they tried to get Nigel to go back into the Conservative Party. I mean, when he attended their rally not so long ago, a lot of young people, Conservatives, were, they were all round him, like here. They were wanting to hear what he had to say and everything. So I think Sunak would have liked him to have gone back into the Conservative Party. But he realised it had gone down so much that he wouldn't really have made much difference there, But this, he might be able to, and that's what we're all hoping. And Clacton is probably the best place to do it.
All of this talk on policy is not to say the relics of an old UKIP campaign aren't present in Clacton. For voters, Farage represents three things: a ban on woke, a ban on green policies, and a curb on multiculturalism.
What is it about the party that you've come for?
Well, because they want to move forward, don't they? You know, they want to progress. They want to change things. Yeah, the Reform Party. It's in the name. Reform UK. Surely we know that the country needs reforming. Can't carry on the way it is.
Tell me, what are you most worried about at the moment, heading into the election? Is it the economy? Is it immigration?
My grandchildren, that's what I'm worried about. I won't be here in 20 years' time, but my grandchildren will be. Yeah, thank you. And I'm worried about them. I'm not bothered about me.
What are you worried about with them?
Well, the country's dying, isn't it? I'm an Englishman in England, and I don't feel like I'm an Englishman in England. Let's have it right. And I'm not afraid to say so.
What do you feel like?
I'm fed up with it. I feel like a foreigner in my own country. That's what I feel like. And do you think that's fair?
Tell me why. Why do you feel that way?
Well, because we're surrounded by foreigners. That's why.
Here?
Not in Clacton. Why do you think everyone's moving out of London to move to seaside towns? Do you think they want to? Trevor Phillips, the black politician, yeah? He said about people moving out. So is he racist? Is he wrong? I've got grandchildren, like I said, and the things they teach them in school and the brainwashing and the adverts on the telly. 30 years of brainwashing.
What are they teaching them?
What, sexualisation and all sorts, you know, young kids talking about sex education. I don't want to go deep into that, but at the end of the day, it's not right. Yeah? When you're 18 years old and you're an adult, you can choose to be who you want to be, not when you're 9 years old. Yeah, when you're an adult.
And Nigel will bring that back in?
I don't know, hopefully. But I know that he's a man that speaks the truth and steps forward. Yeah, and we've got another bloke down here who was running for MP, Tony Mack. He's an East Londoner. You've got half of East London living in Clacton. Why? If it was so good in East London, why aren't we all still living there? Why don't we all still live in East London if it's that great? Because it ain't great, is it?
What is it an immigration problem?
Well, you've been pushed out, ain't you? You know, just been pushed out. It's, you know, everyone knows. No one wants to talk about it. That's the problem.